I'm Dipesh Patel, editor at Trade, Treasury, Payments. Today, we're at the World Trade Organization in Geneva. I'm delighted to be joined by Stephen Beck, head of the Trade and Supply Chain Finance Program at the Asian Development Bank. Stephen, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, Dipesh. Good morning.
Good morning. So, first of all, we're here at the Digital Trade Transformation Forum. But before we start, what exactly is the Trade and Supply Chain Finance Program of the ADB?
Thanks, Dipesh. So for your viewers who don't know what Asian Development Bank is, it's a multilateral development bank that's owned by 68 different shareholder governments. It was created in 1966. It has a AAA rating, and its mandate is to improve people's lives. Part of the Asian Development Bank on the private sector side of the bank is something called the Trade and Supply Chain Finance Program. Trade has been critical to lift millions and millions of people out of poverty. But there are some challenges with trade, and the Trade and Supply Chain Finance Program aims to address some of those challenges in order to maximize the development impact, the positive impact from trade. And so we sort of go about our mandate in two ways. On the one hand, we provide guarantees and loans to support trade and supply chains. Last year, we did about $5 billion in guarantees and loans to support trade in some of the most challenging markets in Asia. At this particular time, we see our role as being important in supporting countries that want to diversify their trade. We see an acceleration in intra-regional trade, and we think we can support that as well. And we're also good partners to support any shifts in supply chains. So that's on the sort of transactional side. On the other side, we undertake a whole bunch of sort of special initiatives to make trade, for example, more green, or to address trade-based money laundering, to include the disabled more in the benefits of trade. Another initiative that we have that we think is very important is to digitalize the whole process of importing and exporting, which, as you know, is an extremely antiquated process that involves a great deal of paper. It's very inefficient, and if we can change that, that would have some enormous benefits.
Well, can you talk through some of those benefits? Why is there such a concerted effort and an industry push to remove the paper from trades?
Dipesh, if we can digitalize the process of importing and exporting, it would truly be transformative on a scale arguably even more impactful than when industry agreed on what the standard size for container ships should be. If we can, digitalize this process, and what I mean by digitalize the process is that we would have, rather than mountains of paper, we would have electronic documents that move seamlessly from the exporter to shipping, to ports, to customs, warehousing and logistics, to finance and importers. If we can do that involving data, electronic documents, it would truly be transformative. For example, global productivity rates would go through the roof. There are various estimates on how much global economic growth would be generated from that transformation. And of course, it'd be more growth and development that comes out of that. So it would truly be significant. So it's a very exciting initiative, and that's what we're doing here today in Geneva.
Thank you. I mean, that's a big claim, the next big thing since the container ship. So what's ADB doing to address this opportunity? I mean, why are we here today, for example?
So Asian Development Bank, along with the government of Singapore, created something called the Digital Standards Initiative, which we housed with our partners, the International Chamber of Commerce. And so the mandate of the Digital Standards Initiative is twofold. On the one hand, it's to bring together the global sort of trade ecosystem to agree on what the main 35 import-export documents should be in their electronic form. We need standard, harmonized electronic forms of these 35 main import-export documents. So that's one piece. And the second one is that we need to ensure that there's a legislation in place that recognizes these electronic documents, because actually there are a lot of jurisdictions that don't recognize these electronic documents. So we set up this Digital Standards Initiative, one piece. Second one is we organized a working group among the multilateral development banks to support the Digital Standards Initiative work. And finally, we're co-hosting with the WTO today and the Digital Standards Initiative and some of our multilateral partners, this meeting today, which is to convene the platforms off of which companies around the world generate import-export documents. And we're looking for a commitment from those platforms to implement these standard electronic documents into their systems, and that's how we're actually going to implement this. So we're very excited about this event today. It's not just talk. It really is about the nuts and bolts of ensuring that these documents are interoperable and harmonized. So it's quite a milestone.
Thank you. And final question, therefore, what is your key message for those industry leaders, the ERP systems, the technology leaders, the platform CEOs coming here today? What do they need to take away from today?
Deepesh, on the long flight from Manila to Geneva yesterday, I was listening to a podcast about some intractable political problem, and there's an old general, and he said something that's really sort of stuck with me. I've been thinking about since, that I think is relevant to this discussion. And he said that that we have an obligation to dream. I've never heard that. We have an obligation to dream, and I do consider this sort of transformation around the sort of process of converting import-export documents from paper to data and the impact that it would have. It is a dream, and I would go further to say not only do we have an obligation to dream about how we can improve the human condition, we have a responsibility to actually implement these things, and that's what today is about. And we're very excited about getting this done by 2030, which is the goal.
Thank you very much. Dream big and remove the paper. That was Stephen Beck, head of the Trade and Supply Chain Finance Program at the Asian Development Bank here at the World Trade Organization in Geneva. Thank you, Steve.